Hi, I'm Jim Gordon.
And I'm Lita Leapins.
And welcome to this edition of Our City Tonight.
Well, we're deep into fall now, and got my scarf on, keeping me warm.
And we got lots of rain, but anyway, a little sunshine in our next episode. Let's get right to Our City Tonight.
Well, I find myself here at Black and Blue Restaurant, part of the global group, restaurant group. And I am sitting with an amazing fellow who is directly from Chile, first time in Canada.
First time.
I have Thomas Munoz, who is the chief winemaker of, let me make sure I get this right, Errázuriz Winery.
Yes.
Welcome to Our City Tonight.
Thank you. It's my first time. I'm excited. It's a beautiful country.
We're so happy to have you. Now, you live in Santiago,
Yes.
Chile. I have to brag on this gentleman for a minute. He was recognized as the top 10 most promising Chilean winemakers under 35 by Patricio Tapia, who is one of the most well-recognized wine critics in Latin America. So we are so excited to have you with us on the show and to talk about this amazing 150-year-old winery. Now, you are only the 5th chief winemaker for this vineyard, this winery. Tell us a little history of Errázuriz.
Well, I'm the 5th winemaker of the past 4 decades. That is, it's a huge piece of our history. So this Viña Errázuriz is it's a winery that's always been focused on high-end production of wines, right? It's always been the vision. It was founded by Don Maximiano Errázuriz in Aconcagua Valley, which is 90 kilometers north from Santiago, which is sort of in the middle of Chile. So the interesting thing is that, 150 years ago, in 1870, Don Maximiano traveled north of Santiago when everyone was actually traveling south. So now you see many of this, the most recognized wineries in Chile are normally based or were planted around 1850 to 1870 to the south of Santiago. And Don Maximiano wanted something different, so he traveled north and he found this sort of oasis in this area that tends to be very dry. And this Aconcagua Valley is a very fertile, it's a very unique place.
What do we have in front of us right here?
So here we have our one of our max range varieties, which is the Chardonnay. Mm-hmm. So as I was saying, we in Errázuriz, we've been focused on the best expression that Aconcagua Valley can give, right? And that includes understanding and sort of exploring this Aconcagua Valley, right? And more than being based in one area of the Aconcagua Valley, we started planting, sort of exploring how this terroir expressed in the wine in different corners of this valley. And the last sort of corner that we explored was the coast. And it was the first vineyard planted in that area. I mean, it was completely new for the wine industry. And this was planted in 2006. And it's 12 kilometers away from the coast, so it's very influenced by the coast. And the Pacific Ocean in Chile brings a lot of humidity, but also cool breeze. So this vineyard is very influenced by that, this thick fog during the morning, and this cool breeze blowing during the day. And it will give this freshness to the wine. So this is a Chardonnay, and that comes from this Aconcagua Costa region that gets this really subtle notes of citrus, some white flowers. It's very sort of austere, elegant, very, very delicious notes, and very fresh and juicy in the mouth.
So we have a new wine here. The second one we're going to talk about, the Max, which goes along with the Chardonnay. It's kind of its partner.
Same sort, yeah, same line or range or category. It's what we call our Max would be our mainstream category that balances our expertise with this different varieties in the Aconcagua, right? So, and of course it tends to be sort of like a blend of the different expressions of this, in this case, the Cabernet Sauvignon, in these different sites that we've been exploring over this 150 years in Aconcagua.
Well, this next wine, in fact, this next grape has a huge history in Chile. Tell us a little bit about this very exciting wine.
Well, this is Kai. Kai, that means plant in the native people's language from Chile. I mean, Kai means plant, but the variety is Carmener. And Carmener is a very special variety. We feel it's very emblematic for Chile. It's it's originary from Bordeaux, but it got extinct due to phylloxera, and it was rediscovered over 140 years after it was rediscovered in Chile in 1994. Wow. So 31 years ago, and since it was rediscovered in Chile, we've been exploring, sort of brainstorming, learning where and like what terroir, how to manage it, and how to get the best expression on this variety. And Kai, for us in Errázuriz, it's the best expression of a Carmener in Aconcagua.
And the beauty of this particular wine is you can age it. You can have it fresh, or you can age it. So you can buy it if you're 80 years old, or you can buy it if you're 20 years old.
Right, exactly. It ages really well. The first vintage of Kai was 2005.
Wow.
And those wines are still aging beautifully.
Wonderful. Okay, we're gonna get our last wine here, which is the crowning glory, I think, for your winery.
Absolutely.
Well, this is super exciting because this is the founder's wine. You dedicated this particular wine. This is your creme de la creme.
Yeah.
Tell us a bit about the history of this.
Well, this is Don Maximiano Founder's Reserve, and it's a very special wine. I could talk about this wine the whole day. We always say it's a very special wine for Chile because we have every single vintage we kept, which is very unique in Chile. We kept a small percentage of every year's production of Don Maximiano since 1983. So we have already over 40 vintages of this same wine. And it's always the main concept is the best wine that Errázuriz can make each year, right? And with the tools and knowledge that we have at each time of this timeline, right? So it's a very special wine for Chile because it shows the aging potential that we can get in Chile, and especially I would say in Aconcagua. And it shows this evolution, this learning curve of Chile in the eyes, of course, of Errázuriz, right? It's a very special wine for Viña Errázuriz because it shows our legacy, our drive to learn, to improve. For me, it's just a fantastic wine.
Let's talk a little bit about why Chile is positioned to be such a great creator of wines, a purveyor of good wines.
Yeah, well, Chile has many, I would say, important characteristics that make it sort of a paradise for high-end wines, for wines in general, but especially I would say for high-end wines. I would say the most important thing is that to get high-end or good quality wines, you need good quality raw material, the grapes, right? Good quality and healthy grapes. And for that, to produce good quality and healthy grapes, you need healthy plants. And I would say that's the most important characteristic of Chile. We are sort of a geographical island. We are not an island, but we're separated from the rest of the continent by the driest desert in the world, the Atacama Desert. the Andes range, which is, of course, a physical barrier, and the Pacific Ocean, right? So Chile is protected from many of the most important pests, agricultural pests in the world. So we get the chance also to have a really long season and with many different terroirs, as we mentioned, Chile is a really long and very narrow country. And in this narrow country, we have many different terroirs that are very suited for different varieties, right? So we get to have a very long season where we can actually produce many different styles of wines and different varieties. So it's a really interesting place where you can taste so many different wines.
Good. Well, I encourage all of our viewers to delve more into Chilean wine. The first two we talked about is available here at BCL, British Columbia liquor stores, and the other two are available at specialty stores here. So you can get your hands on these amazing wines. It'll totally change your mind about Chilean wine and beautiful, beautiful boutique winery. Thank you, Thomas, for being with us today. I definitely encourage everyone to try and check out Errázuriz Vineyard, available at a wine store near you. Thank you also to our good friends at Black and Blue Restaurant for the amazing wine pairing lunch we enjoyed today. And cheers to you, Thomas.
Cheers.
This wine moment was brought to you by the wines of Errázuriz. History written in wine since 1870.
Be sure to check out the latest Our City Tonight column in iconic Concierge magazine. It's available now in print and online.
Well, you have heard us, I'm sure, mention this guy's name a number of times over the years. Every time we have a great musical guest on, often his name is attached to it. He is I'll tell you, he is a 6-time nominee for Publicist of the Year. Boy, this guy's been around a long time. I don't want to make him feel old, but I've known this man a long time, as have you. Anyway, let's get to him. It's Eric Alper, and we mention him always as one of the best music PR people in this country. Eric, it's great to finally have you on the show.
Oh, it's so good to be invited. Finally, it took only 735 artists on this show to get me on this show. I mean, you know, if I have to get them to pull for me, that's just what I have to do.
Oh my God! Well, you know what? We were reading about your beginnings and that. Let's share a little bit of that with our audience.
Yeah, you know, my grandfather had a bar in Toronto called Grossman's Tavern, and the bar is still standing, even though that my family doesn't have anything to do with it since the 1970s. But that's really where I got my love of music from, was seeing these bands play live, people like Rush or Amanda Marshall, Jeff Healey, Rough Trade, and so many amazing jazz bands. And that's when I really got a taste for that music is bigger than just music. It's just bigger than a bunch of people playing on stage. It was a place where the community went together. It was where family had their moment. And since then, I've always tried to be around music and was lucky enough to have a career so far of 30 plus years in it.
And Eric, you mentioned the early days. Let's talk about the 70s. I mean, if you're doing what you're doing back then, if there is such a thing, and you know, you're dealing with the Rush or Terry Jacks or Foot and Cold Water, groups like that, how are things different then compared to now? Obviously a lot more intensity in what you do today.
Yeah, if I'm doing what I'm doing back in the 70s, I'm probably dead in 1982 from a cocaine habit. But failing that though, I mean, look, obviously there's no social media, there's no fax, there's no, you know, there's no email. Literally, it's just a phone and your Filofax, and with a list of all of the journalists, and you're selling them not necessarily on just the hit. But one thing that hasn't changed is you're really selling them on the story. You're telling them about why they need to write 650 words about this artist or talk to them on air for, you know, 7 or 8 minutes. But, you know, it really was just a different complete industry where Canadian artists had to go to the US in order to get notified and to get popular. There wasn't really a Canadian music industry, and if it was kind of in its baby steps. CanCon was only a couple of years since the 70s started. So radio stations were starting to play a little bit more Canadian content. Certainly the media was picking up on that. So the major difference is that I wouldn't be able to contact 600 people a day. I could maybe contact 5 people and take them out for breakfast, lunch, and dinner in between.
Interesting. Now, you know what, not to make you blush or anything, you've sent us the people you've worked with, and then at the end of that long sheet, you said hundreds more. I mean, I'm just getting Madness, The Cult, Leona Boyd, Mick Fleetwood. Like, could it be any more diverse? How do you maintain your excitement through all these different genres?
Because it's all magic to me. I can't play an instrument. You stick me in the studio, I would not know a single thing of what's going on. I wouldn't know what button to push. I wouldn't know how vocals get on a tape or on a computer. I have no idea. So all of this is like watching the best magicians do a trick where you're like, that's pretty cool. And that's pretty cool. So you could be the Wiggles, or you could be Opeth, or you could be Guar or Andy Kim. To me, it's all magic, and it's stuff that I can't do. So every single hour, I'm so impressed with what the finished things are, whether it's a video or whether it's the secret to songwriting, because I can't do it. So I want to be around people that can.
Well, it's interesting too. Again, I go back to dating myself here, but you and I first met when I was DJing at the Virgin Megastore, and you would send me stuff going, you got to look at this person. What I've always loved about you, and Lena and I were talking about this the other day, is that you work with big people, but you also, when we get your press releases, there's the same passion and support for a lot of upcomers. A lot of people out there, no names mentioned, will get big, and then they'll just work with the equivalent of where they are on the ladder. We get stuff from you, we're going, give a listen to this new young artist. She or he is going to be great. How do you balance the two?
Well, to me, it's really, whether I'm working an artist who's 15 years old and it's their very first single, or whether it's an artist who's in their 80s that has sold 100 million albums, they just all have to be really nice. I have zero time for arrogance. I have no time for people that are mean. And the younger artists have to understand that you don't get to be 80 and still in music if you're mean to people and if you treat people badly. So to me, it really doesn't matter so much whether they're new or they're old. Yeah, they all have to be great and things that I can find. But, there's the music side, and then there's also the personality side of things of, are you able to work really, really hard? And can you work as hard as I can? And if not, then let's try to figure out a way while you're in school or while you're at work to bring that into the fan base. But, it's a 24-hour-a-day, 7-day-a-week job being a musician, whether you're brand new or whether you've sold 100 million albums.
Okay, well, with our time left, Eric, one last thing to share, and I know this is difficult. Can you share one little anecdote of somebody who completely surprised you that our audience would know?
Yeah, working with Sinead O'Connor is absolutely one of the highlights, not only in my career, but of my life. This is somebody who I bought her records, like a lot of the artists I worked with when I was a teenager, and followed her career. And she couldn't have been one of the smartest, nicest, kindest people that I've ever met. She was very aware of the public perception of her, and she was quite funny about it and played up on that. Kind of like when that somebody is scary, and then they go, boo, and then they laugh afterward. That was her. She kind of played into her image a little bit, and I miss her every single day.
Oh.
That's good to hear. We should also mention Eric is there's a lot of things actually. I don't know where he finds the time, but also the host of the top-rated Sirius FM show, That's Eric Alper, at ericalper.com. And boy, I tell you, this guy has been around and seen a lot. Eric, it is great to finally have you on the show. Of course, we'll be in touch before the end of the year many times, trying to get clients from you on our show.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining.
Excellent. Thank you so much. And thank you so much for all of the support that you two have given to Canadian music and international music. This scene would not be as great to work with if it wasn't for you two. So thank you so much for all that you do.
Thank you, Aaron.
Kindly.
This segment was brought to you by the Richmond Sentinel, providing news, entertainment, and human interest stories in print and online.
Jim Gordon here in the offices of the Richmond Sentinel. Time for another edition of Richmond Stories. Well, here we are with us. Mention another Richmond Stories. I'm in West Richmond in the workshop of Matthew Lowe, who I got to say, look behind him, loves wood. And that's what we're going to talk about today. It's wood turning. I didn't know this phrase, but Matthew, thank you for having us here. Good to talk to you.
Good to talk to you too, Jim.
Okay, let's start with what the phrase means. I had a sense of what you do looking around. It's exactly what I thought, but I didn't realize that the phrase is wood turning. Tell us what that means.
So wood turning is taking wood blocks, putting them on a lathe, and then spinning them up really quickly, and then putting a blade to them of some sort.
It's interesting. I love stories like yours where you come from a family of medical practitioners and business owners, but you wanted none of that because you got this itch, this creative spark, but it took you a while to find wood turning, didn't it?
Yeah, it really did. Like, I tried a whole bunch of different other art mediums. I tried music for a bit. I tried hairdressing. I tried culinary. And then I kind of tried to please my parents, and I got a finance job. Didn't turn out too well for me, and now I'm doing this.
And clearly you have found what you are meant to do in life. And it's interesting looking at your website and reading some of the comments that you've had. There's a real piece for you here, isn't it? There's a harmony, like this, what did you call this, indescribable piece when you were doing your work.
Exactly, right? Like, you know, all my worries, all my fears and anxieties, all that, I can kind of just forget about it. It's still part of me. I kind of work through it as I'm working through the wood. You know, it's kind of a fun analogy where as I'm getting closer to the heart of the wood, closer to the finished product, I find that I'm getting closer to the heart of my problems sometimes, or issues. It helps me to think about things in a different way. So that sort of peace that comes with getting in that flow state of creating wooden objects, it's special. And
it is no doubt creative, as you would see from some of the images we're showing right now, but I understand that because I would imagine there is such a great focus when you're creating one of these pieces.
That's correct. I'm so focused on each piece that I make, one by one, all by hand, that I kind of lose myself a little bit. I'm less worried, less self-conscious, and it's just me and the piece of wood that I'm shaping.
Talk about the wood itself. I think I've read here now that you salvage local hardwoods.
That's correct.
Explain that, if you could.
Right, so there's a difference between reclaimed woods and salvaged woods.
Okay.
A lot of businesses use reclaimed woods that have been used prior for a separate purpose, say for a building, or like chopsticks that have been recycled into coasters and that type of deal. What I do more so is salvage the wood from the side of the road or from people's yards. Arborists take it down, the city takes wood down, they just leave stuff there half the time.
Right.
So I come in, get the chainsaw, get the car, get the truck, cut things up into usable blanks for me, and then I bring them in, and then all the rough processing and all the drying is on me. Yeah.
That's really interesting, and not to get too much into what you do and into the weeds, as people say, but it's interesting because you do feel you have this connection with this old wood that you are taking and creating something new.
Yeah, I mean, these trees have taken decades, sometimes, a century or so to grow. Mm-hmm. And I get the privilege of taking this wonderful material that would otherwise go to waste most of the time. Oftentimes it's either left in a landfill to rot or just turned into firewood, which is not bad. Right. But I'd rather make it into something that can be used for generations, hopefully. And I try to show as much respect as I can for the tree that took so long to grow. Mm. I'm cutting it and I'm shaping it away. Sometimes I can lose like many inches thick of wood in like a few minutes, right? But I do my best to pay respect to it and make sure that I can use as much of it as I can.
And is there a connection almost for you between the piece of wood that you get and what it ends up becoming, be it a bowl, be it what have you?
Yeah, so I find that I have my intentions and the wood has its own intentions. I try to find wood that will conform to the shape and to the purpose that I want for it. But I need to find the right wood because, you know, you can't take a soft piece of wood and expect it to function the same way as a hard, dense piece, you know? Some wood likes to move and shift a lot. Some wood is very, very stable. You can't make a box out of wood that's going to twist and warp, or otherwise the box won't fit, you know?
Right. Oh, and pardon my ignorance here as a layperson, but do you see that when you see a piece or two on the side of the road, you pick it up, as you said, you bring it back to your workshop. Do you know right away that it can be used for this or that?
Yeah, of course, Jim. When I look at the outside of the tree's bark even, I can tell what kind of figure, what kind of look it's going to have. I can tell from the end grain once it's cut open how straight or how crooked it all is and whether it'll move or not, just based on the species and such.
It's really interesting. So you've been doing this how long now, as professionally, full time?
Professionally full-time about 2 years, but I've been working with wood for 5.
Do you have a most popular item? I see a lot of different ones around your shop here, but do you have one that's most popular with your buyers?
There are 2. Primarily, they're both fidget toys. One of them is a spinning top that spins on your finger, and it's a really nice, quiet fidget. I've sold lots and lots of those.
Okay, yeah.
Tops in general sell really well.
Right.
And I also have another one called a worry wood. It's an anxiety sort of fidget toy. It's like a worry stone, but the wood version.
That's so cool. We're filming this in late fall. Do you want to talk to our viewers about any big events you have coming up where you will be selling your products? They can come and say hi to you and get to know you and what you do.
Yeah, Jim. So I'll be at the Circle Craft Christmas Market in downtown Vancouver at the Convention Center. In mid-November, I'll also be at the Highcroft Women's Market at Highcroft Manor near UBC in late November. And then early December, I'll be at the Make It Christmas Market in the PNE. Yeah, those are the last 3 I've got for this year.
Okay, and if you can't get to those events, of course, you can find, I love this website, Okie Dokie Woodworks. We've got the banner with that right below us, and also on Instagram, Okie Dokie Woodworks as well. This is great stuff, and again, this is the kind of Richmond stories we love doing. Matthew Lowe, thank you for having us.
Thank you very much, Jim.
Captioning and other promotional considerations provided by Hamilton High Street Senior Residence, Richmond's newest senior living community.
Well, we're back here to wrap up the show, and it's time to say goodbye.
Don't forget, actually, to like and subscribe on our website. You can check out channels for our arts and entertainment, our full episodes, as well as Wine and Dine, the podcast. It's all there, ourcitytonighttv.com.
Which one's your favorite, Jim?
Well, they're all my favorites.
They're all your babies. I know. That's a tough question to ask you.
Thank you for watching, as always. I'm Jim Gordon.
I'm Lita Leapins.
And we'll see you on the next edition of Our City Tonight.
Visit ourcitytonighttv.com for all the latest episodes, segments, and our new podcast. And please be sure to like and subscribe.
The Richmond Sentinel, providing news, entertainment, and human interest stories in print and online.